Our person goes, this is going to be a lot more in-depth analysis of Crimson Ballad among some of the other 2-star legendary gem and 1-star legendary gem like Berserker. Early today I try and do that, but I don't think I did it a justice using paint and my bad skills at that. So I'm gonna try and do a lot more in-depth analysis this time around with proper tools, because right now there is currently a lot of hype around the Crimson Ballad being the best 2-star legendary gem when it comes to the damage, and we're gonna try and find out if that is true or misinformation. And this time around I end up working on a proper chart, not using my paint skill but some proper tools, and this is gonna be the individual gem output over 1 minute versus training dummy. Our base damage is gonna be somewhat 100, and the maximum that we can get is gonna be 130% when Crimson Ballad activate. And on the bottom you can see the duration of the test in seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 40, 50 and 60 seconds, how each gem is individually behaving. So we are not stacking them and using them in a synergy, but individually trying to find out how each gem perform themselves. We have Form Fang here, Berserker Eye, Spectre Glass and Crimson Ballad at rank 10. Starting with the Crimson Ballad, that is going to be the red one. It starts with the activation of a second, and that is with the primary gear having all the beneficial effect duration increase, runes with the beneficial duration, and some of the reforge with the beneficial as well. And you can get a second uptime for the gem. While the gem will be active, you will be getting the most damage out of any other gems. And after that there is gonna be the 12-second downtime, and this is how it looks. Again, you can count the seconds on the bottom as well, and after 12 seconds it will trigger again, goes back at the maximum burst damage of 30%. And this is going to be the behavior of Crimson Ballad individually. Again, we are not stacking it up with other damage gems. This is the benchmark performance test of individual gems, and this is how it will be behaving versus the training dummy in 1 minute test. And now if we move on to the Spectre Glass, that is a 2-star gem at rank 10. And again, we're gonna try and maximize the performance of Spectre Glass by having 2-piece Feasting Baron that extend the duration of the gem and having high potency, just like we tried to maximize the performance of Crimson Ballad. That is a second achievable right now for most players, and so the maximum duration that you can achieve easily with the Spectre Glass is going to be 4 seconds, but a lot of people out there can achieve even 5 seconds. But for the sake of the test, we are going with the 4-second uptime and 2-second downtime, and this can be achievable by having 2-piece Feasting Baron and high potency. And this is how the gem is going to be behaving in 1 minute test versus the training dummy. Gives you 28% damage for 4 seconds, and then goes back down for 2 seconds, and then goes back up. And you can see the behavior of this gem versus the training dummy individually working versus the training dummy for 1 minute, and we have a complete graph. Next, it is gonna be 1-star legendary gem Berserker Eye. It gives you flat damage, and these are the dots that we have here, giving you 16% flat damage. It doesn't go down or doesn't go up. It is sustained damage you can get, and this is what we have for 1 minute, straight up, straight line. And then Fervent Fang, rank 10, 2-star legendary gem. It takes some time to get the gem to 10 stacks versus the training dummy, but after that you can keep up the 24% damage. We are not gonna include the 6% damage of the elite versus the bosses, just 24% damage here. But this is how it works versus the training dummy. For 1 minute test, it goes up to maximum stack, and then it stays at 24% damage for the rest of the test. And again, individual damage output over 1 minute versus training dummy. You can see the duration on the bottom, and base damage is 100 and maximum is going to be 130%, only achievable with the Crimson Behelit. So this is how the behavior of each gem. But if we want to try and somewhat find out how much damage we will able to get from each gem, that is going to be the next slide. There we go. I will go through the key points first. The base damage again is going to be 100 per hit. We will be achieving 600 hits in 60 seconds. That is 10 hits per second during the 60-second test versus the training dummy. Then the active time, total seconds the gem damage buff is going to be active during the 1 minute test. And then hits, which is going to happen during the gem, is active during that 60 seconds. And unbuffed hits, which is going to happen when the gem will not be working. And then total damage combined from both buffed and unbuffed hit. So if we go to the top, we have Fervent Fang, Berserker Eye. I'm not going to count the resonance here, and that is just for the sake of the test to keep things easier. And then we have Spectre Glass and the Crimson Behelit. So during the test versus the training dummy, total damage output 1 minute test, 10 hits per second. The uptime for the Fervent Fang was 59 seconds. It takes 1 second for you to get that 10 stacks versus the training dummy if you are doing 10 hits per second. And so the uptime for the Fervent Fang was 59 seconds. For the Berserker Eye, the buff is always active, and so it was 60 seconds. For the Spectre Glass, we were able to increase its duration by adding to Feasting Baron and extending the potency to 40-second uptime and 20-second cooldown. For the Crimson Behelit, in 1 minute, if we try and achieve as much beneficial duration from the primary gear pieces, reforge, runes, and the secondary gear, the duration of the gem itself is going to be 8 seconds. And during 1 minute test, you can activate the gem 3 times. So it will give you 24 seconds active time of the gem during 1 minute test. And then if we go take a look at the hits, how many hits, active hits we were able to achieve versus the training dummy while the gem was active. For the Fervent Fang, 590 hits while the gem was active at 100%, 10 hits while the gem was not at max stacks. And Berserker Eye, always active, 600 out of 600 hits were with the damage gem working. For the Spectre Glass, we were able to achieve 400 hits in 40 seconds with the gem active, while 200 of the hits were with when the gem was on the cooldown. And for the Crimson Behelit, 240 hits again, 10 hits per second while the gem is active, 240 hits while the gem is active, 360 hits while the gem is not active and on the cooldown. And if we go take a look at some benchmark scores here, how much damage we were able to get while the gems were active during this 1 minute test. Fervent Fang 73,160, Berserker Eye 69,600, Spectre Glass while the gem was active during 40 seconds 51,200, Crimson Behelit while the gem was active 31,200 points. And then if we go take a look at some of the unbuffed damage, this means when the gem is on the cooldown. And for the Fervent Fang, that is only 1 second, so 1000 damage was unbuffed. Berserker Eye, the gem is always active, so there is no unbuffed damage. Spectre Glass, there was 20-second cooldown, so 20,000 damage was just basically base damage. And for the Crimson Behelit, we end up achieving 36,000 base damage just by hitting while the gem was not active. And the total damage here we can see for the Fervent Fang 74,000. We have not included the 6% damage of the elite in this test, and still it is on the top. So if you want to add that 6% versus elites and bosses, it is going to be even better. As for the Berserker Eye, again, we are not counting the resonance. Otherwise, some of the other gems, it will not be performing as this good, you can say. And for the Spectre Glass, the total damage, 71,200. Benchmark scores for the Crimson Ballad is still come at 67,200, thanks to our base damage being 38,000, contributing a lot of points, you can say. But there we go. This is a complete analysis of the some of the damage gems that we have. You can do your own math and test and see if it is true that Crimson Ballad is the strongest damage dealing gem, because after doing some math and testing and creating this, I think 99% people out there are wrong, thinking that Crimson Ballad was the top damage dealing gem. In fact, it is not. It is a solid gem, but by no means it is the top damage dealing gem. It is there, but not a top damage dealing gem. And this is what we get. I'm signing off. See you all in the next one. You guys have a great day, and I see you on the next one later.